Hello. For those who don't know me, my name is Brother Sean, and again I'm coming to you from my heart in this short recording. And interestingly, the title is more about a spiritual recession in one's life. And you are aware, of course, from your own daily living and the global economy, that the world is in a recession and regrettably caused by politicians and various banks who have led us to a place that has caused real pain, real hardship, and it has of course created a new poverty trap for many individuals who previously felt comfortable and safe because their job had no information to say that they would be made unemployable, redundant. And I know from the many, many souls who email me, who even come here, who had comfortable positions, secure positions, are now left living on a day-to-day basis. And regrettably, that has a downward spiral on their mental health, their emotional, physical, psychological, and even their spiritual health. And behind it all, there's an element of fear. And I would say with my hand on my heart that a spiritual recession is one that has been caused by fear. Because if we overindulge in the media, a media that thrives on drama, fear, and I'm an avid watcher of the BBC World News. Every evening, 11:30, I try to get a glimpse, a summary of what is happening in the world. And there's sometimes I come away from it feeling, on a human level, very despondent for the world. But then I'm reminded that I'm not in service to the world. I'm in service to a higher power. And that higher power does not bank on fear. That higher power meets all our needs if we are willing to engage with the Supreme. But so many beautiful souls are so deeply rooted in that mindset of fear that even psychotherapy, cognitive therapy, regressive therapy, even hypnotherapy, a lot of the therapies and ologies aren't really getting to the core because the fear is so great and so real. But in the spiritual life, many who are walking this path have a choice to use their gift of free will and embrace a loving Father, Mother God who created them in love and who asks only one thing, that they surrender their heart to that love. And in a spiritual recession, it's akin to the dark night of the soul that the great mystic, theologian, teacher, Saint Teresa of Avila wrote extensively about. And she shares with us the impact of the dark night of the soul, a spiritual recession where we've dried up, where prayer is one of the most difficult things to do because there's no hope. You're in a place, a void, where there is no interaction other than how you're feeling and where you're left with those feelings. And I would imagine if everyone was true to their heart, they would say to you, yes, I have encountered a spiritual recession, or worse still, I am in a spiritual recession. I've supported several clients over the last few years, one of whom touched me so profoundly, who was a nun. She was a head teacher, and she was in final vows for 38 years. A very bright woman, a learned woman, a wise woman. But through contracting an illness, such as epilepsy, she was thrown out on the street by her sisters. Now, I'm not sharing this as a dig at the Catholic Church. I'm not. They couldn't handle it. It was a teaching order. So they came to this from this mindset where it lacked compassion and empathy. And this lady left God because of what happened to her. And she went and lived in an ashram in India. And she tried all the spiritualities, all Eastern spiritualities. She heard about me, she came to see me for several sessions. And she shared with me that in the end she got married. She nursed her husband who died 3 years ago of a crippling cancer. And this lady was so beautiful, but in her eyes there was a deep spiritual sadness. She was in a recession because she'd built such a brick wall around her heart where she could take no more pain, and especially rejection. But throughout the dialogues that took place over several sessions, what came to light was so starkly true for her, but she was in denial, was that she admitted to me that she lived in fear of God. She lived in fear of Jesus, our beloved, and she'd recognized for the first time in 30 years that she was still a bride of Christ. I tell you, when another allows you walk with them in their journey, it is such a privilege. It is such a privilege to be invited, to be considered, to walk without rescuing that person, because one realizes the need for God in one's life, and that the journey is not all plain sailing. There are peaks and troughs. A bit like the financial market. 1 minute is up, next minute it's down. And the spiritual life is like that. It's not all, hallelujah, I love you, how are you? No. The spiritual journey is a real journey. It's a commitment of one heart to the Supreme's heart. And because that intensity of love that's flowing backwards and forwards, it creates another energy that wants to disempower you. And I call that the Antichrist, who tries to rape our divinity, leaving us in spiritual isolation from a loving God. And we have to be real to that observation. And we have to take steps to remedy that quickly. And to take ownership of how we're feeling. And talk to God as I'm talking with you. Say it as it is. Get rid of all the fancy words. This isn't Hollywood where you're playing to a camera. This is reality. Speak your truth to God. Be angry and share it as it is. And invite the risen cosmic Christ into your heart. but then allow him speak to your heart and talk you through this spiritual recession. But one thing he will not ask you to do, and that is to convert to religion. On the contrary, he'll invite you to embrace spirituality, which is a more loving, non-controlling relationship with God. I wish you well. Thank you.